Hello, good afternoon. Martyn from Chango. I'll start over here because there isn't a clicker. This is me. I look after the European region for Chango. We're a Canadian programmatic marketing company. In effect, we have a marketing platform which we use to work with advertisers to power their display, social, video, all those different types of campaigns. I'm not here to talk about us today. I'm going to try and talk to you a little bit more about what programmatic is, what the different disciplines there are within it, and hopefully give you some ideas of the right way to approach programmatic. Also around the introduction of who we are, we've been in the UK about a year and a half with a team, and we've been in business for 5 years out of Canada. We do an awful lot of thought leadership stuff, which you might find useful as well if you're all looking to find out more about programmatic. So do take a look at our website. And I've also got some of our magazines. We publish a magazine called The Programmatic Mind, which is about all things programmatic. So I've got a few on me if anyone wants to take one of those away with them at the end. So before we start, it'd be useful to know who's already working with programmatic at the moment. A little show of hands. This is a good audience for me then, because sometimes you just end up with a whole ton of experts who might know more than me. So the idea of programmatic is to improve performance on top of older media and marketing techniques within digital. So I'm a big advocate of programmatic. I actually come from a background of TV and sort of multi-platform sales from a more traditional angle. And I was attracted to digital a few years ago and then moved into programmatic because of the promise of what the data and the technology can do to improve performance for advertisers. And, you know, who wouldn't want all of these things, right? So running through the list, reduced cost of sale, less wastage, quicker conversion windows, all of these wonderful notions of increased performance are absolutely possible with programmatic. And I'm going to kind of explain why that is. We at Chango have got a very, very good marketing director who's based in New York. What we have done recently is a big survey called the Programmatic Pulse, where we've interviewed a lot of people in the market and done some qual and quant survey work to look at where programmatic is today. That forms the basis of some of the things I'll say, and we've actually made a little couple of really quick videos. So take a look at this just to sort of tee it up. Any rap fans out there, but that's a sort of adapted Ice Cube lyric at the end. I don't know if anyone spotted that. But yeah, a little idea of what we think about programmatic and what our clients and the marketing community that we talk to think about programmatic today. But you know, let's kind of bring it back to us, right? This represents us. Well, me anyway. We're using programmatic to sell stuff to people. That's what it's really all about today. So what does it mean? I mean, does anybody want to come up here and have a go or put their hand up at explaining what programmatic is? Okay, I'll do it. Thanks very much. This is kind of the Chango definition of programmatic. You can all read that. I mean, there's a lot of kind of misunderstanding around what programmatic is, as I've seen. A lot of people throwing out the notion of RTB as being that is programmatic. Real-time bidding is just sort of one element. That's how you buy the stuff. But programmatic overall is about automating a lot of different marketing practices and bringing together the data, the technology, the use of software, algorithms, and so on to massively improve performance over the way we used to do things. Oh, I'll get out of the way. I think I'll stay over here with no clicker. So yeah, these are the kind of three major components that make up programmatic today. But it's how do we get here? It's moving. Things have moved incredibly quickly. But how do we actually get here? Now, I don't know if anyone remembers this. Everyone looks very young out there, but back in the old days, AT&T sort of invented internet advertising. And frankly, it was much more fun back then. I mean, just look at the click-through rate. Absolutely brilliant. Has anyone still got a computer like this these days, sitting around? It's probably worth quite a lot of money now. But yeah, I mean, back then, remember, everyone knows the horrible ads that we had back then. They were totally irrelevant to you, flashing and annoying you and so on. And, there's nothing. There's no rich media, no mobile, no acronyms at all. But there was this nutty click-through rate. And we'll come back to that later on. What it meant, though, and this still goes on a lot today, was that we didn't really have much of a chance of finding the consumer we wanted to connect to as a marketer. It was the kind of where's Wally's situation of there's a load of them out there, which ones should we really be speaking to now? It's a very inefficient way of doing marketing and trying to sell stuff to people. So where are we? That was the old days. This is where we are now. And this is a lovely, very clever diagram. I don't know who drew it, whether it was one of our guys or not, but it explains the idea that we as an advertiser or a marketer can now go through the ecosystem to find the consumer we want to talk to. This diagram is massively simplified, even though it's already complex, because it says nothing about data particularly. It's just saying here's the consumers and here's the marketers. But there's a whole other layers of complexity in here when we think about bringing in data, and I'll come back to that as well. That was an incredibly quick description of where we're getting from 1994 to today. What we have now is a whole gamut of really useful things. We have an awful lot of acronyms, DMPs, DSPs, SSPs, and the like. We have ad choice now, so consumers can opt in and out. We also have new pricing formats, and they're evolving all the time. We're going from CPMs to sort of DCPMs. I don't know if anyone's working with DCPMs already, or are you still on the sort of CPM? Okay. New channels, social, video, mobile, and so on. So we've massively evolved. One of the things that's gone down a little bit is that we're not really seeing 44% click-through rates anymore. But there's a good reason for that, and that's because of the way display, video, and so on work to sort of influence people as they're moving around the internet. It's not just a direct response mechanic now in programmatic, and I'll talk about it later on, but the lower click-through rates also indicate that there's a lot of branding effect from using programmatic. So we've been very clever. We've got to the point where we've got all of these lovely things that we can use and all this evolution. But it's just going to get a lot harder, and it's going to get a lot harder very, very quickly. The next big thing, well, it's already with us. I'll show you some examples, but is the Internet of Things. By 2020, there will be 30 billion connected devices around, and that's connecting consumers to advertisers one way or another. It's worth pointing out that a lot of these devices are actually sensors. They're not necessarily a completely intelligent internet device, but there's going to be a lot more devices connected to the internet, which then have an army of sensors around them, a little bit like how the Nest product works, which Google has invested in very seriously. There's even 4G connected cars, which are going to be able to tell advertisers an awful lot of information about where people are, what they want to do, where they're going to go, and so on. I mean, the Internet of Things has kind of been with us for a long time. I would say that not some of these things that we know of, like the quite smart kind of apps and TV guides, they're not actually really doing much for our advertising experience as marketers yet, but they will do. I mean, even the electronic tagging, that's kind of an example of a sensor connected to the Internet of Things that tells people a lot of information about you. What's been interesting is the evolution of brands that were, if you like, something you would buy that have become a kind of lifestyle support or a brand. So you're looking at Nike and a lot of the sports brands. They're now things that you tell the advertiser or the marketer how healthy you are. We're sharing a lot of information with these companies. Has anyone got Google Glass, by the way? Yeah, have you got it? No? Anybody got Google Glass? No. Okay, interesting. So that was a sort of day-to-day. I really like this slide. This is a very sort of more industrial look at the Internet of Things, but it's from a company called Palmanok, and what they're looking at is the more industrial application of the Internet of Things. But if you can read this from where you are, all the way through, there's some stuff that's connected with our jobs around, mobile phones dominating, or smartphones dominating all communications by 2016. But as you follow up through the years, they're very, very confident that the home is going to be completely connected in the next few years. They're talking about breakthroughs in oil, gas and electronics, which are not very exciting to us as marketers, but they are massively exciting to the way the planet and the way people and consumer behaviour is going to develop, and potentially pricing as well. All the way through to 2019, when computers will break the exaflop barrier. Is that news to anyone? Anyone know what the exaflop barrier is? Brilliant. I'm still know most out of everyone then. That's when the computers will go beyond a certain speed of calculation. I mean, it's not that relevant today, but one thing that I like as well is holographic TV is going to come out in 2020. I mean, the television industry is close to my heart because I come from it, but within television, we've seen a real sort of mismatch in the way technology has evolved with delivery systems. So TVs at the moment, you can go and buy a TV that will pretty much do holographic TV anyway, but nobody can deliver it. The pipe servicing that TV machine is not big enough. There's not enough data in it. And I see similarities with the way programmatic as an ecosystem works at the moment. There's an awful lot of good data and a good technology, but not many platforms are able to cope with that at the moment and pull them together properly so you get the results. Anyway, that's the future. Boiling it down to more like the day-to-day that we're in, and then I'll get into how to improve performance. Just a sort of diagram of how it started and where it's going. So right now, we're 2014. Most things that you could name, like display, video, social, and so on, they are programmatic. What's coming next? I don't know if anyone's experimenting with this in your media planning and buying life, but certainly I'm talking to marketers and people who are running agencies who are experimenting with programmatic outdoor, which is a really exciting concept of being able to tell someone walking past an outdoor poster somewhere, being able to link that persona with their activities online and being able to tell them a sort of a flow advertising story as they move through their day. And you can say that person that's just about to walk through this poster in Bond Street was searching for expensive shoes earlier on. It's going to be very exciting. And we go all the way through to radio, smart TV, glasses and so on. At the heart of all this, though, is data. Without lots of data, it's just a massive load of confusion, and we don't really know who anyone is. So Chango, we're not the biggest programmatic advertising company, but even us on a daily basis, we're collecting we're sort of creating and collecting 20,000 gigabytes of data, which we store. And all of this data can then be looked at as we're helping our clients with their marketing campaigns. And I think that's Chango, a little Canadian company that you probably haven't even heard of. Think about how much data Google and everyone else are generating and collecting. It's just enormous. And the reason we need all that data is because consumers are not just one thing. I think a lot of the older ways of marketing looked at consumers as just being that person there is a businessman, and that's it. They're not. Consumers are all sorts of things. I'll give you an example, which is me, right? So outside of work, this is slightly an older picture than it wasn't taken today, but I play guitar a lot. I'm totally mad about learning and playing the guitar. And now, you can see my crappy amp there from the old days. I've actually got an amplifier that connects to the internet, so I can sort of tell other guitarists and, so on, what my favourite sound is. I can copy people's sounds and so on. So that's a good example of the Internet of Things. And what that means is that there's a lot of information going to the internet telling someone, marketers, advertising companies, something about me, and it's saying, this guy's a guitar nut and selling guitars, right? But that's not it. That's not everything. Like everyone else here, I'm a number of things. So, I'm a father, I'm a football fan, I'm someone who wants to go on holiday, and I'm a potential retiree, and so on. And with all these connections to the internet and the programmaticization of everything, how on earth do you as a marketer know which hat someone was wearing at the right time and where they are and what they might want to buy now? Heading for the sort of meat of the advertised presentation is like, how does this work? How can we market better with programmatic? The three pillars that I see of it, and that Chango sees, in fact, that wasn't me, are really live data. You have to have fully live data, but you have to be able to sort through it. There's no point just getting all this stuff in if you can't make sense of it and make something very useful out of all this data. And you have to have great people. I mean, it's a myth, and some of the programmatic companies really market themselves saying, hey, we just built this machine, we don't really know how it works, we plug in a load of information and then it just runs and it sells more stuff to people. It's people that built it and it's people that need to manage it. I mean, advertising at its heart is an instinctive business. It still is. Just think of Mad Men. It came from that, and now we've automated it. You still need good people to understand the intricacies of the campaign and of the consumer and how to adapt and manage the technology. The people are still in charge at the moment. So here's a sort of example, right? I mean, this is a picture representing a crowd of business people, and we and a lot of programmatic companies work with the travel industry and retailers and so on. Anyone who's trying to transact online, and this is a very simplified example, but I mean, we've got a kind of smallish crowd of business people here. Is anyone planning to travel on an aeroplane in the next week or two? Yeah, cool. So we've got sort of 2 people out of maybe 20 or 30. It's impossible for me to know that if I'm trying to sell tickets. So if I was wanting to advertise my flights to you, I'd have to spend a bit more money and just tell you all and hope for the best. I mean, that's the old way, right? I've got a segment, which is business people, but really I'm trying to get the 2 over there, and there's no way I'd have known. So how do you find out who's in market? You've got to look for intent, and this is where programmatic comes into its own. Probably online, the easiest way of divining intent is someone searching for something in Google. That's why search is such an enormous business and so important. We're not really in the search business, we're in the display business. It's got a little bit harder to do the technique known as search retargeting, because Google, they wanted to keep all that data to themselves, but to quite a reasonable degree you can still get your hands on a lot of search data. And actually Chango's business was built on search retargeting, but we've moved on from there because search is really only one thing. Someone searching for a flight doesn't necessarily mean that they want to do it right now. There may be various reasons why they're looking at New York. Point is, there's a lot of other data out there that you can get your hands on as a marketer, and it's very, very important to put the intent in the context of other things, to work out the value of that intent at the point right now, and where that consumer is in the purchase funnel and so on. I'll go into a bit more detail, but a search is one thing. Where was the search? Are they searching in Google or are they searching on site? That could indicate a position in the funnel.